So, I want to show off a few things before we start. I'm going to show off the important things, is kind of what I'm thinking. So I'm going to start with Testament and Naga. They did change Testament's combo routes. Actually, there was a little bit of a red herring in the patch notes. See, everyone was like, this is going to be the fucked up thing, right? And it is very good, especially this. This is insanely good. Because before, what made it weaker was that, like, you could not, if you did this, you had to wait for the skill to run out, right? Or you use Crow to detonate it. That's not a problem anymore. So you can do this like preemptively to control like space above you and then use like S. But 2H is so good now. So I actually underestimated how good this is. If you're unfamiliar, this move is only -2 on block. It is the same sort of thing, because after you block this, it's just a very linear RPS situation, right? H Grave Reaper, or are they just gonna continue pressure, right? This move is almost comparable to like how, like, think of like Soul's Far Slash in the first version. It's kind of like that, honestly. Although you can backdash this. The other cool thing about this, because of this, it changes some of the routes. So you don't get 2H Crow anymore, which is kind of okay. But instead, what you get is you get this off a random 2H now. If you get something like a Stain hit, you may have noticed this already solves another problem that they had. Some combos would not work, or like would not work on the corner because how the hitbox on 2D6S work, or the TH string, actually fixes that. Honestly, so here's the thing about this move that makes this a problem. If you're far enough from them, it doesn't really matter. If you're like here, I mean, you're just gonna keep doing shit like this. But the other disadvantage is if a character actually does like IBFD them away and they just like, it's like, this does not work against them. This works in their favor. It's probably better for them. Not many characters can fight them in neutral, right? So I think 2H is actually the real winner, just because of how much it actually brings to their combo routes, but also like how it changes their offense. It's a better neutral tool because like if you like get a poke like this, you get a much better combo. What is it? This is a little more stable though, and they throw you after 2H on block. Well, here's the problem. It's -2, so like theoretically they can, but it's -2, so they're going to you can always cancel into dit. Close slash. Right? So it's like that's what happens if you mash, and that's the easy way out too. That's if you get hit by that's if you don't get hit by this, which is much worse. Well, I shouldn't say it's much worse, but... Well, it is much worse, because that's the same combo without counter hits, so I guess that tells you everything. I think, honestly, this is more effective for things like this, where you're at, like, a distance, and you can just, like, control space. You can, like, control the area above you without actually doing anything. And then whenever you, like, don't want it anymore, you just give it up. Oh, yeah, one other thing I talked about was I thought they may make it so it explodes. So, like, I've shown this before, but... You can see at the end of the fireball, it like explodes right when you use something, right? Basically, when you use the succubus, it makes the skull explode, right? But they specifically coded it, or like I guess set a rule that this does not explode. You can actually see it just disintegrate. They did keep them in check a little bit. I would say this is still a little overkill. Honestly, even if they just got the 2H change, that would change a lot about them. That like for the better. The 236S change is fucked up. And this is Nago, by the way, with 0 blood. This is the healthy Nago now. Because now, oh yeah, so if you guys are unfamiliar, I'm gonna take a second to really show you. So when he has 100 and when he has level 2 blood, his health modifier is like 1.20. It is so rough for him. But you know, the funny thing is, I don't think that anyone cares. He probably still has 4 guts, so... Oh yeah, and 2S got hit. Oh! I'm fucking mashing this. That's so rough. Oh my god. Honestly though, like this kills... I think this like kind of aspect of Nago like completely removes like the flail or like force RPS playstyle. If you like played him anything, but I think fundamentally you're probably gonna struggle. I mean, it's gonna be really hard to play like that in this game. Because what made him so good before was that like, even though he has some restrictions on like his movement and stuff, it's that like even if you hit him, you're not gonna do that much, right? Like you're not gonna really like risk reward, even when he has level 2 blood, it's like almost even if he does a full combo. But now that's not really the case. In fact, some characters can probably I know this is gonna sound fucking crazy, but now it's probably gonna be much easier to out RPS them if they go to level 2 blood. So it's like, if you're not good at playing Nago, like Betsy's base, I think that may be over for you. They did nerf Nago's 5H, so it doesn't hit the ground anymore. So you can low profile this, which means I guess some characters can checkmate him, right? Or I guess theoretically they can checkmate him. So Nago really got hit with quite a few things. I think honestly it'll be up to the Nago players to have a much more, I guess, stable game plan, because the same game plan, especially after this patch, is 100% not working. Like, it is impossible for that shit to work, at least consistently. So let's talk about, I want to talk about Anji too, because Anji I didn't expect a ton out of. But it's funny because he actually ended up getting a lot of good routes. Like, getting 5H, getting something like this is actually quite good, because this is one problem he had. Like, I feel like we've been talking about this for a while. I'm not even doing the right combo. The thing about him is I think this sort of change is the type of thing that changes him from like maybe like considered like one of the weaker characters overall. Because the thing about him is like he's still like got okay, his buttons are okay, his frame data is okay. The problem is like a lot of his neutrals still fucking sucks. It's still incentivized like for you to RPS with spin, which is still a problem for a lot of characters. Like, a lot of his problems are still going to be the same as long as he has to deal with spin. Like, obviously it's much better for him. Much better. I'm not saying that he should have a broken spin. It's more like I think they basically designed him in a way that they cannot let him be too good, is kind of what I think. So next is what, Rekka? See if we get hit. Oh my god, that's so much less damage. Holy shit. The thing about her though is I think it's very clear that they want her to the way that they want her to run offense is like pretty much, you know, more mid-range pokes into like pick confirms like this, rather than just being like, you know what I mean? It's not necessarily like brain dead. I wouldn't even call it brain dead before. I don't really like saying that. How they want you to run offense with her is they specifically want you to be at a very specific range to get your damage. You know what I mean? Until you corner them. That's the kind of gist I'm getting. All right, you guys want to see some bomber loops? Hold on, this way. Fuck. I could do 5 in Exert. Press 1 for us. Is this actually that big of a deal? Oh god, it is! Holy fuck, that is a big deal. I mean, like, the thing about Axl, I think that he really needed, I think he needed better frame data. I think the fact that he can cancel so late is a very important thing. I think this is very critical to his gameplay in the current version. And I think the risk reward in terms of how they're changing him, like they're fixing a lot of his damage, right? Or they're making his damage more stable. I think before it was weird because like Axl had like a very blatant risk reward like gap. If he had no meter, it's like you might as well just run at the motherfucker. Like you might as well just like, you know, you might as well go full like Goldberg spearing someone. You know what I mean? Nothing will stop you. But then if he has 50 meter, you're like, okay, maybe I need to be a little careful here. But I feel like now this like kind of it stabilizes Axl's game plan around like just general like damage increase. So I think that's a good direction for Axl. So I saw Mame say that he thinks it's gonna be fine, which means I'm already sold on it. Let's see. Instead of like using 6S, I think they want you to use Gunflame rather. In fact, it almost feels like they've decided 6S was like a mistake button and they're just gonna like slowly take it out, give him other shit to do it. Because like the thing about it is this is actually kind of fast, but it's not really useful for damage. This is actually a get into it now. It is so weird. So 5H round start I think had a lot of potential against a lot of like moves. I mean, honestly, maybe doing it now against Nago isn't that big of a deal. If he uses blood early, then it's more punishing for him, right? I don't know, it's just like it's weird because I think he's gonna be fine. It's just boring. Okay, let's see what we get. Really? Hey, we didn't even get a combo off that. Maybe, oh god, really? This is a bad sign. This shit is brutal. They really did slow players dirty. It's just like, it's so pointless. Why would you do that? Again, I don't even think he's like, I don't think this is gonna change his overall like position, because it's still like the same shit. It's like if I want to force like RPS on getting in, I'm just gonna do gunflame instead of success. That's pretty much all this is. And now it just means you answer the RPS in a different way. Rather than doing preemptive 6P, you may be looking for like, I don't know, react into IAD, right? I did see Mochi say that they made it so this works a lot better. Anyways, who else can we go over? Give you Geo. God, I hate Geo. So, the thing that I thought is honestly really substantial, like no matter what, is this. The fact that she gets, oh, I guess it's off of airborne hit, right? I think the fact that she has airborne, I guess it isn't as big of a deal as I thought it was. Damn, I just did a Geo combo by accident. I was literally just mashing buttons. Ooh, Geo player on the alert. Geo looks quite good. I think this change is pretty strong, right? I mean, the 2H change is really good in general. It's weird that they have like a thing for vacuum effects now. Let's see, remember he was supposed to lose meter for this. Wait, he doesn't even lose meter for this. I thought they were literally taking away his pension when he did this. That's why I was like, oh, good decision. The K normals just don't combo anymore, which is actually a big deal, because that means like you don't have to be as afraid of him in neutral, just like swinging to K, because getting hit by this shit is terrible. So I guess against Happy Chaos now, most of the time you're gonna just use crouch normals to mash out or contest them, because now a lot of the time he can't even get anything from 6K, so he's probably gonna just use 6S instead. This stuff is still in, so he still has the same shit pretty much. So I would say really it's more of just like if you don't have a general strategy against Happy Chaos, this patch probably won't help you. A lot of like, I think the changes are more about fighting him on a micro level rather than like, you know, oh, like he just doesn't get a combo here so I can RPS there. It's more like, oh, I minimize risk by using lows instead of mids. He probably got nerfed, but I can't even tell you that because I don't know how they changed all the damage values yet, so I don't know. So Baiken's thing is she gets what? She can double Tatami, which I think is good because it enables her to do some of the older stuff that she used to with like IAD back Tatami. It's not as committal. I don't know how it'll change her combos though. I think the one thing is like people are happy about that change because I think I heard that it doesn't work on everyone. Right? Or it didn't work the same way, I guess. I think they just made it a little more stable. Honestly, I played a little bit with Doran, and I remember being able to 2 or like 6P it every time with Testament, and now you can't. So big buff to her with the 6P thing. It's probably more useful. I don't know if it's just in the game, but it's probably more useful because of that change. The thing about like the restriction changes is like there were some options that were theoretically good, but because of the restriction on it, like it wasn't really worth doing because it's like, oh, what if I need to use a Tommy here, Grave Reaper here, right? Like it was the same thing with Testament. I think like it really just enables them to be more creative with what they do, and it also enables them like to do like more interesting things like combos. I don't really know how you would what you do, like I guess like something like that, right? Which I guess is good, but it's I don't think a change like that warrants doing IAD to Tommy. I think IAD back to Tommy is definitely more worth it. Because that way, at least if they run into you, you can do that. But it may not be as relevant. How much she get hit by damage scaling? Well, actually, let's talk about Goldlewis first before I move on. So they hit drone, right? You can see now. Also, it seems like even if your hurt box, really. I didn't realize this actually. Like that you know note change that they showed off. I think. It works more against Goldlewis than it actually buffs. It actually buffs other characters. Yeah, they added it to drone. That's actually pretty bad for him. That actually means the RPS is actually it's gonna be worse because that means you can do things like you can actually actively engage him when he does this. Especially with a like a K normal or like a jump cancelable one. It means that if he does it at a bad angle, you get away for free. So that is a pretty big deal. Drone got hit much worse than I thought. Drone, I think, really took a beating this patch. But I think like this sort of change is good for him because like I think like you don't want to hit his offense, right? You don't want his offense to be nerfed at all. Well, I don't think he should lose his offense because I mean that's like what he's built built for, right? I don't know, that, like, the fact that they changed to make it easier to interact with to that degree is probably going to be pretty substantial for him. The reason why drone is such a big deal, because his neutral kind of sucks, right? Like, most characters will beat him up in neutral, like, swinging at you forever, right? Obviously, there are exceptions. Like, some characters he actually can just, like, straight up fight you with, but, like, there's not gonna be as many free ways for him to get in, so, like, it's gonna be kind of rough. There's gonna be a lot of Goldlewis players who struggle with the changes if they relied a lot on drone, but I think if you were, like, a player that could use, like, just play in neutral fine, I mean, the change will basically not affect you, I think. Because, like, before, what I think is pretty much the difference here, just to give you an example, they always just did this, right? Like, throw drone, blah, 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 blah. But now, you obviously can't do that. You'll get punished. You have to really understand how to RPS and, like, play around that. Level 1 drone, pretty much, I think it's, like, that neutral change is gonna hurt way more. But I think it is, like, more true to his character. I mean, his offense is still fucked up, and he's still gonna kill you if you guess wrong. But, I mean, drone was just very strong at getting him there, so it just makes him less consistent. But, I mean, I do think drone is kind of overtuned. So, this is about 2K2D as a safe jump. Personally, I just want to say really fast, I love that Diaphone has the hood up in this test. He's got the, what's the dude from Prototype? Do you guys remember that game? Prototype Alex. That's what you're going for. That is awesome. That is fucking awesome. May's thing is that people are saying, I think S Dolphin's 0 on block, right? So it's neutral now rather than being minus. Oh, sorry. Did I say on block? I meant on hit. Sorry. sorry. That would be a big problem. That change is pretty good for her because it just makes her RPS better, which, I mean, that is the type of character she is, right? Like, I mean, her thing is to force, like, those linear RPS situations with, like, S Dolphin into, like, backdash or the whip punish sort of thing. So I think, like, that frame data change is beneficial to her. The other one was jump to H, right? Oh, that's quite good. So that is actually pretty good. And then beach ball. The thing about this, though, I mean, it's still not great. I think most Mei players are just happy if, like, it's better for Oki, right? I guess that's the idea. Which I think, like, she should have better Oki for forcing RPS situations, because, again, that's all she is. Like, the thing about, like, characters like Mei compared to Soul is I think you have to really ramp up how much damage and how many RPS situations she can force, just because she doesn't have as many outs if she's wrong. Soul, for example, he has, like, DP, his Vortex, and shit like that. Mei doesn't really have anything outside of Super, which directly works against her game plan. So it's like, I think the changes they made for her are very good. I don't know how much better she'll be in the grand scheme of, like, the patch, because I don't, to be honest with you, I feel like a majority of characters have not moved around. A lot of them, I think, are still at the same sort of place as before. It's more so just, like, I think everyone's a little more stable across the board, which is it's a good thing, right? It's a good change. Except Nago. Obviously, Nago got hit quite a bit, but, like, most other characters, I think, aren't in that category. Oh, Axl as well. So I think Axl also got a lot too. So yeah, they added the thing that everyone loves, which is, oh, it's probably the same. It's not the same input. What is DI in this thing? Some real demon shit. So he has this now. So, you guys are looking for some new routes. Look at the damage, though. Like, I wonder if theoretically you could make that an infinite. I guess, like, not, because there is still, like, a gravity system. But that is funny, right? Yeah, that's real. This is actually a combo. This is not me joking. This is a real combo. I'm dropping it over and over again. I guess, like, theoretically you could do it forever. I dropped it midway. Anyways, that's what you got. And this. You are getting guard crack. That shit sucks. Oh yeah, you're right. 5H2, that is an important one. The one problem he has is, like, this dropped a lot at, like, max range. Which it still looks like it does anyways, but it's better. So I did hear Alpha's fucked up. Which is fine, because I think Alpha is not that great. Not a lot of people know this, but he is actually, like, you can hit him while he's doing this. 5H, like, a good combo. I mean, that is quite good, but that is off 6-8. I don't think he didn't have a combo like this before, right? I'm sure you can end in card to get a lot. I mean, this is on Millia too, so that looks pretty good. What other change he got? There's one other change he got. I'm pretty sure that's notable. Oh yeah, well, it's the overhead and this. So one thing that's really good about this change, the fact that he gets a knockdown from this, I think is really big, like on crouch, because usually you do want to do a crouch normally against him anyway, because it's usually as fast, like the fastest normal and the safest usually, and also usually the best reward, right? I know like a lot of people are dooming about it, or I shouldn't say dooming, but they're like, oh fuck, you gave Chipp a faster overhead. I don't really think of it from that lens. Like, I think it's quite fast anyways. It's still very risky if you block it. But I think the fact that he gets knockdowns more like in a more stable way is actually a very big strength for him. Because one of his weaknesses has always been that like when you end in like Rekka, you're minus. Like even though you've done this, you're like what, -1 on hit or some shit. Like I remember in Exert, he would do Rekka 2, and you would literally just like dive in after him. Like you would just chase him down after you got hit. He's still -3 on hit, really. I mean, like either way, it's still just like, it's very bad on hit, right? So it encourages RPSing against him. So this is something that's actually pretty important for him. This is like a little more stability, which is really important for him. Because I mean, obviously he explodes if he's wrong. So I think the option is very good. Millia got Turbo Fall. You do get something off of 6k now. Oh yeah, and the 2D change is really good. I think honestly, I wasn't even thinking about it for DPs, but I was thinking of it really good. It's really good for the fact that it's just a better neutral tool on the ground. She probably does need better grounded neutral tools just to compete and risk reward a little bit better, I think, against some of the other characters. But obviously she does have a good air game too. So this clip that got posted earlier, what this is showcasing is that this actually combos. So you can cross up after you stall them, or sorry, after you splat them, and pick up on the other side and kind of mix them from there if you want, or do a combo. Yeah, to avoid wall break, basically. I think that's a good change for her, because one thing that does suck is like some characters can just take the hit and get out of her pressure, right? Like, I mean, I think some characters probably still can. Like if you like backdash a Sin or Chipp, like I bet these two backdashes probably are airborne or like vulnerable enough to actually fuck that up. But it's a good change for her. But we didn't even talk about Faust. No one even brought up Faust. That's crazy. Where is the... which is Binks? This shit is kind of fast. It does look very sped up to me. But yeah, pushback on 2D was a concern, but it doesn't seem that, it doesn't even actually seem that big of a deal. In fact, it actually looks better for him. Good catch. Oh, that is a lot, actually. Holy shit. That is actually a lot. I take it back. Holy shit, that is a lot. Oh my god, they really do push you back now. Holy fuck, I didn't realize it was like this. That is actually so far. That means he could probably frame trap some characters just by doing 5H into 5H. Look at how far you go. Holy shit. That actually, it does actually do what I was talking about. So I guess now if you block 5H, you may have to just let him throw items. You may just get like a free item toss. I guess that's probably what they're going for. I mean, here's the thing. Changes like this are not necessarily about a lack of counterplay. I feel like a lot of people always like look at changes like this and they're like, oh, he just gets to do whatever he wants, whatever. But in actuality, it's more like it's just going to create an RPS situation. Like changes like this are a lot more, I guess, minuscule and focus more on like the interactions around it. So like, for example, if you start mashing on him after this because you think he's going to item toss, it's still going to be the same thing, right? It's just, in general, it favors him more often because you have to take more of a preemptive gamble to do. So Stroke, now at low profiles as soon as she starts moving, right? So, like, you can't hit her out of it. Is this, like, frame, like, 3 or something? It's probably, like, frame, like, 3 to 5. You know, I think her mix-up is going to be a lot better off of these changes. And honestly, like, I think Ino's just going to be a more interesting character to watch because her movement's going to be more interesting, right? I think before her movement was, in this game, was a little too linear. Like, just as in terms of, like, how interesting it is. Yeah, people are going to have a lot of fun doing this shit. I know you can it depends on how you input it now, right? So it's like if you hold 4 at all, it stops you. Changes like that for Ino that focus on her movement are actually very good changes. The problem is it's very easy to overbuff her with things like that. Ino in older games was really fucked up, but she had a huge execution curve to like actually execute her well. So she was always like fucked up, but like nobody could really execute her super great. And so they kind of made her simple and like a little like less fucked up to compensate, but then they kept making her more and more fucked up after every patch until like she just like mixed you from every angle. Changes like this are great because they impact her mix, because obviously how it impacts her dashes depends on how her movement works, right? But it also buffs her neutral and how she can move, and that is really important still. So I have a good feeling about how she'll develop. Oh yeah, Jacko and Leo next. So they changed his 6k knockback. I actually thought this had been a nerf just because of how it was worded, but I realized I think the change is to prevent him from getting thrown after like this over and over again. Because sometimes if you did 5k, 6k into 5k, if they threw you, it would usually work. Now you will not be able to. The other change is 2D knockdown for Oki, right? But I'm not particularly afraid of that. I think it's so he gets back turn off the 2D. But at least he gets punished if it's blocked. Jacko got a lot of changes. I mean, I like this change a lot. The artillery. This change is so funny to me. Can't even catch up with it. I'm glad you actually brought that up. I think the idea is literally just they want you to set up better sandwich pressure, and that's the idea. In general, I don't really know how this patch will affect her, because even though she got some good changes, she did get nerfed by the risk, like the general system changes. So don't really know how she'll turn out, to be honest with you. But I really enjoy this. I think this is really funny. But overall, like I don't know if Jacko will move that much. I don't think she will. I think she'll kind of stay in the same spot, I think, ultimately. Leo, I think also same thing, where it's like I think he got buffed, but the rest of the characters also got buffed with him, so it's weird.